Have you ever heard the deep, steady rumble of an old car? The kind of sound that makes you stop, take a breath, and wonder, what engine is behind this magic? In American automotive history, there was one machine that found its way into millions of cars, from sleek coupes to hard-working trucks, from city streets to racetracks. It was compact, powerful, and became the go-to choice for engineers, hot rodders, and speed lovers alike. What made it special wasn't just its horsepower or durability. It was how it reshaped an entire industry and became part of a generation's memories. And to truly understand why it could do all of that, we need to travel back to a turbulent era, when the entire auto industry was standing still because of war. In the early 1940s, America's auto industry came to a halt. Chevrolet, Ford, and Chrysler factories were converted to build military trucks, airplane engines, and even tanks. Throughout the war, no new passenger cars rolled off the assembly lines, giving engineers time to think about the future. They knew the war would end one day, and when it did, Americans would crave modern, powerful, comfortable cars unlike anything before. So even while producing weapons, many engineers quietly sketched and planned for a post-war era. When the war ended in 1945, the United States entered an unprecedented economic boom. Young families flocked to the suburbs, and demand for family cars, work trucks, and high-performance machines skyrocketed. GM, Ford, and Chrysler raced to release innovative new models and fresh technology. And in the middle of this race, one man would step forward to change Chevrolet's destiny. A brilliant young engineer from a farm who had a bold vision for the future of the V8 engine. His name was Ed Cole, and the story of his masterpiece starts here. When he arrived at Chevrolet, Cole was shown a 231 cubic inch overhead valve V8 prototype that was under development. But after reviewing its drawings and specs, he knew it couldn't be the heart of Chevy's next generation. It was too heavy, too bulky, and out of sync with his plan for a lighter, more efficient Chevrolet. So Cole did the unthinkable. He scrapped the project. In its place, he issued a daring ultimatum. Within 2 years, his team had to deliver an all-new V8. Lighter, simpler, cheaper to build, yet powerful enough to beat the competition. Some thought it was impossible. Cole refused to settle. He gathered the best engineers, turning the design shop into a battlefield of creativity, where every drawing and idea was tested again and again. The atmosphere felt like a laboratory for dreamers. Arguments flew, sketches were redrawn, ripped up, and started over. What they were building wasn't just an engine, it was a new philosophy for Chevrolet. Among this team were brilliant minds. Don McPherson developed a wedge-shaped combustion chamber with inline valves, improving airflow, power, and machining efficiency all at once. Clayton Leach from Pontiac contributed the idea of a self-aligning rocker arm system, which the team refined with hollow push rods and lock nut adjusters to make the valve train lighter, tougher, and easier to assemble. Then came John Dulzer, the block casting genius, who nearly halved the number of cores, thinned the crankcase walls, and still kept strength high, resulting in a block weighing just 531 pounds, a remarkable figure for a V8 of that era. Every detail, from the crankshaft to the heads, was engineered to be both robust and production-friendly. For 15 grueling months, the team worked relentlessly, turning each drawing into a step closer to the goal. And then in 1955, Chevrolet unveiled its brand-new engine, the 265 cubic inch small block V8, and almost overnight, the American auto industry was shaken. This compact power plant featured a 3.75-inch bore, 3-inch stroke, and in its highest trim, delivered 195 horsepower at 5,000 RPM. Impressive numbers for such a lightweight engine at the time. What made it even more revolutionary was that it wasn't limited to the Corvette, Chevrolet's flagship sports car, but was also available in the brand new Tri-Five Chevys, including the Bel Air, 210 and 150. Suddenly, everyday customers could buy a family sedan with a lightweight, powerful, responsive, and easy-to-service V8. Thanks to Cole's forward-thinking design philosophy, the engine fit easily into sedans, wagons, coupes, and even light trucks. Dealers quickly realized customers were willing to pay extra just to have the V8 option. Chevrolet's sales soared, helping the brand overtake Ford in the mid-1950s sales race. Even more important was the engine's versatility. It could be built in fuel-efficient trims or tuned for high performance, making it the perfect platform for nearly any application. And when the hot rod community discovered it, the small block quickly became the heart of countless custom builds. This early success was just the beginning. Within a year, engineers tweaked the camshaft and added a dual 4-barrel carb setup, pushing output to about 240 horsepower, an impressive figure for such a compact engine in the mid-1950s. But the true turning point came in 1957, when Chevrolet enlarged displacement to 283 cubic inches and introduced mechanical ramjet fuel injection. For the first time in history, a mass-produced car achieved the fabled 1 horsepower per 1 cubic inch milestone, a technical achievement that stunned the industry. The enthusiast community couldn't resist. Names like Ed Iskenderian, camshafts, Edelbrock, manifolds, and Holley carbs flooded the market with go-fast parts. Suddenly, anyone with a wrench and a garage could transform a humble family sedan into a street terror. Chevrolet kept the momentum going with the 327 cubic inch in 1962, beloved for its high revving nature and durability. This engine became the foundation for the legendary DZ302, built for Trans Am racing and making the Camaro Z/28 a force to be reckoned with. The pinnacle arrived in 1967 with the introduction of the 350 cubic inch small block, the people's V8 that millions of Americans would rely on for decades. It carried Chevrolet through the muscle car wars, the fuel crisis, and into the 1980s, proving the resilience of the original design. What's fascinating is that the aftermarket revolution wasn't just about horsepower, it was about accessibility. With cheap, plentiful parts, young gearheads learned to wrench, swap cams, and build engines that reflected their personality. Thanks to its simple design and minimal complexity, the small block was cheap to maintain and easy to repair. A small-town mechanic could tear one down and rebuild it with basic tools. This made it a favorite for trucks, police cars, taxis, boats, and even industrial machinery. It didn't just survive the glory days of the muscle car era, it weathered the storm of the 1970s, fuel crisis, and tightening emissions regulations. Even when power output dropped, it remained strong enough to keep cars competitive without sacrificing reliability. By the 1980s, millions of Chevrolet, GMC, Oldsmobile, and even small buses were powered by some variant of the small block. Automotive trade schools used it as a teaching tool, turning it into the living textbook for future mechanics. Its ubiquity went beyond factory vehicles. Engine swaps became wildly popular as people discovered they could fit a small block into almost anything: classic hot rods, drag races, or even humble daily drivers. All of this leads to the question car enthusiasts still debate. Why is the small block Chevy called the greatest V8 ever built? First, cost and accessibility. With over 110 million units produced across decades, mass production drove prices down so much that even everyday families could afford V8 power. What was once reserved for luxury cars became accessible to the American middle class. Second, smart engineering. The small block's compact dimensions, simple pushrod valve train, excellent power-to-weight ratio, and ease of maintenance made it a masterpiece of efficient design. Compared to complex quad-cam setups like Ford's Coyote, the small block remains easier to swap, tune, and fit into a variety of vehicles. And finally, versatility. Few engines have played as many roles. It powered Corvettes, hauled loads in trucks, became the heart of countless hot rods, and dominated drag strips. There was no arena where the small block didn't leave its mark, even in NASCAR. This combination of affordability, clever engineering, and near-limitless adaptability turned the small block into more than just an engine. It became a cultural icon of American motoring. By the early 1990s, emissions, fuel economy, and electronic controls demanded a complete redesign. But Chevrolet knew the soul of the engine had to remain intact. The first major step was the LT1 in 1992, featuring reverse flow cooling that cooled the cylinder heads first, allowing higher compression without detonation. This marked a key shift into the EFI era and the birth of the Gen 2 small block. But the real revolution came in 1997 with the LS1, a clean sheet design with an aluminum block, deep skirt strength, coil-on plug ignition, and improved cam block architecture. The LS1 was lighter, stronger, and more powerful than its predecessor. Despite being completely new, it stayed true to what made the small block special: compact size, mechanical simplicity, and excellent power-to-weight ratio. That's why it became the go-to engine for enthusiasts everywhere. The LS swap movement exploded, with LS engines finding their way into Miatas, RX-7s, Jeeps, and even vintage trucks. GM refined the formula with Gen 4 and today's Gen 5 LT series, adding direct injection, variable valve timing, and more efficient combustion. Yet through all the updates, the core DNA of the small block remains: a compact, powerful, easy-to-package engine that can be built upon endlessly. From 1955 until today, the small block Chevy has proven that a brilliant design can span generations. It's more than an engine. It's a piece of American automotive history tied to family road trips, smoky drag strips, and the golden age of hot rodding. Even now, with modern LT engines, its DNA lives on, ready to roar in millions of cars worldwide. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever owned a car with a small block under the hood? Or do you have a memory tied to that unmistakable rumble? Drop your story in the comments below. I'd love to read it. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, share it with fellow car enthusiasts, and subscribe so you won't miss the next deep dive into legendary engines and classic cars. Your support keeps this channel alive and fuels more stories from the golden age of American motoring.